a momentum-based team. They got the win yesterday early on, but then they lost to Fnatic, and we can always see that as like a really big confidence breaker. But we'll see how well they talked about it that night and what kind of mindset they came into today.
So first ban's coming out here. Jarvan the fourth, aimed straight at Hercubot. Twisted Fate straight at Ocelot. On the other side, Karthus banned out against Slayer and Thresh against Dude. Final bans here, 4 against All Authority, going to be Shen. Obviously, not want to let Kevin have that one, or maybe even Hercubot in the jungle at the end of it. What will the final ban here be for SK Gaming? Maybe an AD carry aimed at No.
It could be. I was thinking maybe it would most likely be in the jungle. Maybe take away Nasus, though Hercubot likes him quite a bit. Volibear hasn't been played much. I mean, he was banned once yesterday and picked once yesterday because of the recent changes to him, but they do take away Renekton from W10D2. So, all these bans are coming in relatively quick because they came into this game knowing what they wanted to take away from the other team. Exactly.
We see that, the fast bans when the teams are prepared for each other. That's how it goes down. So first pick here for against All Authority. Elise is still in there. I've got to say, though, I quite fancy a jungle first pick here for against All Authority, for Virtual to be in his comfort zone.
Yeah, I mean, because with Volibear kind of nerfed, like, Hercubot can play Hecarim. He can play Shaco, which I talked to him about. He did back in Katowice. And then Nasus, like, those are the only real junglers you have nowadays that are really heavily played, though Amumu is open. But like you just said, against Authority, they're going to lock in the jungler. They're going with that Nasus, and they want that strong lineup. And then we see Elise being hovered over for SK. So we see Nif play it as support.
Yeah.
We could also see that in other lanes. It's always a very high potential as we see it locked in right away for Kevin. And of course, with Kayle left open, seeing Alsop play him yesterday, why not pick him up again?
Well, Kayle is another one of those dynamic picks which can be, at the end of the day, in the support role, in the middle lane, in the jungle, even in the top lane. So
I believe we saw Mover playing support Kayle.
Yeah, exactly. Well. And that's the one thing that, that kind of pick, along with Elise as well, really leaves the Against All Authority team guessing from this one. But what are they going to go for next? Kind of expect, now that the jungle's in there, to go with AD carry and support, not really knowing what Elise and Kayle are going to be doing.
The thing is, Kha'Zix is left open.
This is true.
That is, I mean, such a heavily contested pick. We know Schley can play. We talked about him yesterday and how well he would just go in and out of games, or in and out of fights against the Giants. And it looks like they actually will lock this down. And of course, that Leona, I mean, Dude, like, he's just shown his mastery of every single support champion. I mean, he's done it with Thresh, he's done it with Lulu, and this Leona, which we saw, was just superb. It was sublime.
Well, it is going to be the Kha'Zix locked in there. Jason's crystal ball is functioning,
Yes.
Heute, wow. Heute. Too much German speaking for Joe, apparently. Today, of course, is what I meant to say. So what are SK going to go with here next? It's because Candy Panda is on the screen, and I taught German to him, that's why. That's my excuse at this point. So SK then, with that Elise, with the Kayle, as you said, could really go in any kind of direction. The support already picked up here for against All Authority.
See, I think this is exactly where the AD carry is going to come in, because you can pick up Varus or you can pick up Ezreal. Like, you can take away a champion away from No. We know Candy Panda plays a lot of Varus, plays actually quite a bit of different champions, and it looks like he might give his shot at Ezreal. And of course, SK, they did show Volibear for a second there, so we might actually be going with that champion. And we talk about, his early game ganks have been nerfed a little bit because his speed is a little bit slower, but in the end, when it's rank 5, he actually moves faster than he did originally. So in the late game, he'll be very strong. And if they do keep that flash on him, you have a really strong initiate.
Yeah, that was all, done to stop the early dominance that Volibear really brought in there. But I think if you're running with Ghost, which, against the likes of Lulu is not what we usually see, but with a Leona in there, you've got a Wither obviously from NASA, so we'll see what Hercubot goes with from that one. Obviously, Varus was picked up by Candy Panda, very strong pick for him. Morgana, I'm not going to fall for.
I was going to say, it's actually been played in North America. Nijaki off of Curse has been playing it, and I believe it was Complexity or GGU, who's very vocal about not wanting to see him on that Morgana because it was just so deadly. I mean, he played it back until Extreme Masters Kiev, and I remember, I can't remember the team they were playing, actually, no, it was against TSM, and his Black Shields were always perfect. I mean, he had Kopp, who was running Kog'Maw at the time, against Reginald on Gragas. Every single barrel Reginald used to try to catch Kopp out of guard would be stopped with that Black Shield. So, I mean, she's a good champion. You also can see her as support sometimes, but obviously with Leona, you're not really going to see that. But we do see Corki being sat on. I was going to say there's no real chance we're going to see that. He's kind of not too strong nowadays. But the Kennen, we talked about W10D2 playing him in the top lane as AP. Might see that yet again. And then also the Koreans, they love that champion right now.
Yeah, of course, Corki has had a change, though.
He did.
His big bombs now come with every third ultimate attack instead of every four that it was before. So, you know, I like that. I used to play a lot of Corki, I could say. So, you know, maybe he'll start to come back in. But for this one, Misfortune as the AD carry, Kennen in that top lane. Now, what are SK going to finish with here? Still not sure where that Elise will be, whether that'll be top lane. We're guessing that Kale in the middle lane, because we've got Volibear there, obviously, for the jungle.
We have Zed open. We know Kevin can play Zed. Like, I was wondering when looking at this, like, we haven't seen many bans on Zed lately. We haven't seen many picks, and with Kale on SK, you wouldn't want to pick Zed into a Kale, but if you have Kale on your team, why not pick him into this team? Because you could blow up Kennen, you could blow up Misfortune, even potentially Kha'Zix, and then you go with this composition that's very high damage kind of team, and then you have the pseudo-tankiness because of that intervention.
Well, let's see. SK running this one right down to the wire. You can see Nif on your screen there.
Rumble.
And it's going to be a Rumble. So that tells us then that Elise is going to be the support again with Nif. He's obviously enjoying playing that Elise support. And to be honest, he showed last week that he can play an incredible Elise support.
Yeah, I mean, he was 3-0 at some point versus Gambit in that game last week. And going on to Kevin real quick with that Rumble, we've seen him, I think this is the third game running he's actually been playing Rumble. Against Gambit, he played a very nice team role where he would just push the top lane consistently and it would force Diamond to react to him to really sit in the top side, and he would die. I mean, he had the only deaths on his team, I think, or a majority of them, we'll say. But it worked out so well for him. He's shown how good he is at Rumble. And of course, that ultimate, it can never really go underestimated. If you can lock them down with Varus and lock them down with the Cocoon, and then in that Rumble ultimate, you can just shred them apart.
Yeah, and we actually gave Kevin yesterday MVP for their game where he played Rumble, constant pushing, as you said, like against Gambit, constant pushing that top lane, perfect equalizers throughout everything. So he's going to have that one here today as well. So, a lot on the line for this game. SK Gaming, of course, can secure that third place position here, and that will set them up to then play the 6th place team, obviously, when we come towards the playoffs. For Against All Authority, it's about holding on to the 5th position, which would, at least right now, set them up with a game against Evil Geniuses. But also, if they win this, they come a step closer to Evil Geniuses, who are not safe in the 4th position.
And it's kind of funny because we talk about, you know, the bottom teams. It used to be, you know, EG, they kind of want to keep winning so they don't play against the Wolves in the playoffs, but now it's like flipped. It's you know, Wolves and Against Authority don't want to play SK in the playoffs. They want to play EG because of the way they're currently going. But we'll see how it does develop because, like you said, their Evil Genius is not safe just yet. And Against Authority, I mean, they smell blood. They want to close in on that.
Well, that's the thing. Against All Authority were the team that everyone probably wanted to have in the playoffs, and, you know, to avoid the Wolves. But right now, Against Authority are looking so good that it almost doesn't matter anymore because both Wolves and Against Authority are looking strong. Who do you play? Well, it's a best of 3. The best team usually wins a best of 3. You know, a best of 1, you can sometimes have those anomalies in the results, which is, you know, why it comes down to best of 3 in the end to see the best team coming out. We'll be getting started in a second. Nif is just restarting his client, and then we can get into the game.
And Joe, speaking of the playoffs, I mean, look at it this way. We could potentially lose SK, Evil Geniuses, Wolves, or Against Authority in the summer split. Like, that is just ridiculous. It's mind-blowing if you think about it. And we could have these new teams stepping up and taking their places. And I have, like, no words for that because it's just so, like, on the edge right now. And I can't wait till we actually get to the playoffs and get to the promotion series because things are going to change.
Well, you say we might not have any of those teams, but the only teams that we know we'll definitely have in that next half of the season are both Gambit and Fnatic, of course. The rest of the teams are going to be playing these playoff games first of all, and then possibly into the relegation tournament. 7th and 8th will go straight to the relegation. No playoffs for them. They are going to be, well, facing a very tough challenge. The likes of Meet Your Makers, TCM, and what have you all down there to maybe cause an upset and get themselves into the LCS, get their dream job, I think we can say. And
Dragonborns could potentially play against one of their old teammates, Dexter, who is, I don't remember the team name exactly, it's like Dexter is crazy or something like that, but they could potentially play against them.
Dexter is evil.
Is evil, there we go. That's a crazy evil, they're synonyms, right?
Yeah, I suppose you're right with that one, technically. So Against Authority versus SK Gaming, a crunch matchup here in the mid-table, and we're going to see how this one all goes down. Jason, run us through level 1 here quickly.
Looking at the sides we have, so we have Against Authority, they have a lot of damage, and with the passive off Leon, they can apply a lot of damage to the entire enemy team. So we could see an evade out of them, but with the way they're setting up, it looks like they want to secure these double golems at the bottom lane, just to make sure Nono has that level 2 advantage over his counterpart. And for SK, I mean, you have you have Rumble, who Kevin, I mean, he's just done a phenomenal job on. You want to give him a safe start just because you know how well he can use him. So I don't think SK are going to go for any sort of invade either. It's just mostly going to play it out, kind of safe in the beginning, and see if they can win it as the game goes on. Because remember, this is a very crucial match, just like we've been saying. SK could clinch that third position, and against Authority could get one step closer to EG. So why, blow it early by a mistake?
Well, one thing that we are going to see here at level 1 is a lane switch coming in with Varus and Elise. Of course, Candy Panda and Nif headed up towards this top lane. Kennen is helping out with Kha'Zix there. They're going to start off with a bit of Wolves for a bit of experience early on. Hercubot starting on the Golems on this top side. So talk us through 1v2, because that's what we're looking at right now. Freddy versus Candy Panda and Nif. And then on the other side, Kevin versus No and Dude.
Okay, I'm going to start with Kevin on this, because we've highlighted him specifically for the situation. We talked about how, in previous weeks, that he shouldn't win, or he wins lanes he shouldn't win. And yesterday, in particular, you saw him 1v2 against Dragonborns in the bottom lane, and he came out ahead in that lane. He was ahead he wasn't ahead of them in CS, but he was ahead of his counterpart in CS. He got kills. He did a phenomenal job on that Rumble, even holding his turret for quite a while. So seeing him in a 1v2 situation yet again leads me to believe against Authority's going to have a tough time against that. But on the other side, keeping Freddy out of the mix here, not letting him get farmed, not letting him go against Kevin, you're going to keep his late game power diminished for a good period of time, where that ultimate just to lock you up and just blow you up is not going to be too powerful until we get about 25-30 minutes in.
I see Ocelot harassing Slayer in that middle lane as much as he possibly can. Early CS there is in favor of Ocelot, but it's very, very early stages. Of course, not even 3 minutes into the game up until now. There's Virtual going to be starting off with the blue buff. Freddy's actually come down to help him here, which now, it's not really a loss of time or gold or experience, because, well, that lane's been frozen out in the top lane anyway.
Right. But we are hitting that 3:30 mark relatively soon, and that means junglers should be appearing in those solo lanes if they want to make sure that they that their solo lanes don't get dove under the turret. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Hercubot come down to the bottom lane and see Virtual head up towards the top, just to make sure Freddy can't get killed, because he's level 2. He's relatively squishy. If he gets hit with a cocoon and there's just the burst damage out of Varus, he could be blown up.
Well, both of those, Rumble and Kennen do have that built-in speed boost that they have, which could help them get away from a 3-man gank. There are wards down on both sides of the map here, but not really covering those all-important ramps up into the tri-bush at the back to prevent those 3-man ganks coming in, which, a couple of months ago, they were pretty much standard at 3 minutes. They were in there. 3-man gank, both lanes, no problem. They've started to slow down a bit, which for me is an opportunity more than anything to see those happen.
Yeah, it's kind of shows how quick the meta evolves. In Season 2, it was pretty much just as quick, but that's how fast teams have to adapt to it. But, with the way it's gone now, junglers are just going to stop by. They're not going to go for the gank, but they're just going to make sure they can keep up in levels. Just, hit 6 a little bit earlier, apply more pressure on the map. As we see, Schley getting relatively low in the mid lane. Even Hercubot try to come on for a gank, but not really too successful.
Of course, Ocelot got that heal in there as well, going to be helping him out. Slayer will get a fair bit back as well as things go on. So, Virtual going to have to babysit this top lane right now. And getting that Spirit Fire down. Currently 7 CS to 13 if you compare Kennen and Rumble. So Kevin, he's taken a bit of a battering in that bottom lane, but he's actually burned through less pots at this point than Kennen has.
And we'll see how well it pays off, because, you're going to take a little bit of damage early on, but you have those health pots for that reason, so you need to get that farm. He's, Freddy122 almost down half the CS at this point, but it's a Kennen, he's ranged, he should be able to keep up quite well, and with Virtual sitting there just to make sure he gets that experience, doesn't get forced out of lane, he should be able to pick that up very soon.
Well, right now, not a lot for Freddy to do, because SK are freezing that lane out perfectly here and making sure that he doesn't push too hard up on towards that turret. Then he loses out on all the experience coming in. Nasus actually hovering around the middle. Volibear, though, gonna be a tough bear to lock down.
Yeah, it's really interesting is that Ocelot actually backed relatively quickly, and he only picked up a dagger and a ward. He didn't really buy the items he wanted to right off the bat, so it's kind of interesting. We see Kevin actually getting dove in the bottom lane right now.
Yeah, gonna go in there towards Kevin. Dude actually tanking up the turret. Kevin actually will use that elixir and goes in on towards Dude, and he manages to get the first blood. Oh, if only he'd got damage there onto No, who died to the minions in the end. A 1-for-1, but first blood for Kevin. Brilliantly done. Technically got 2 kills in there, I'm going to say, but it just didn't hit. It didn't hit No.
And that's what I pointed out earlier, just how good he is in Rumble in these 1v2 situations, proving it right there, getting that first blood, and well, eventually, like you just said, getting 2 kills. He's going to miss a little bit of farm just because the wave is pushed up against him, but hey, I would take a first blood and a death like that any day.
Well, I think it's harder to not hit him with flame spitter than everything else, but of course he did flash out there to secure that kill on towards Dude. So good job by Kevin. He's now 16-8. Oh, got a kill in there. Got himself a Doran shield. So going to come in nice and beefy again back towards that lane. Has got that elixir running, and he'll start to feel more confident off that.
And that's something he kind of did yesterday as well. He went for a ruby crystal as his first item just to get that extra health so he can sustain the burst that comes down. But he builds relatively tanky in the beginning. Then he goes for the haunting guy, sword boots, and into a Rylai's if he wants to stick with his normal standard build.
So, in that middle lane, we see that Slayer is finally starting to put some more pressure back over on towards Ocelot, who is still leading in the CS count right now. But Slayer, is he going to go wandering? No, it's just a ward down to keep him safe there on that corner brush. As we do see No and Dude come back in towards lane. Now Kevin's got to go back and be content once again to sit under his turret, as Virtual will also come back up to help Freddy, who's only got 9 CS right now.
And still we see Hercubot heading up towards his top side too. He has flash available, but he could go for the gank.
They're going to go in towards Freddy. Nice with a put down though by Virtual. Freddy took a good chunk of damage, but with that lightning rush, as I said earlier on, built in there, that extra speed boost keeps you safer.
And not to mention the armor and magic resist it gives you on top of that, so you can survive a little bit more burst. But you know, with Hercubot sticking around on that top lane, they might try to go for some really heavy damage with this turret, or maybe even potentially take it, as Kevin's going to be having a tough time in the bottom lane with Against Authority pushed up to his turret as well.
Yeah, but deja vu must be setting in for them right now. Should we go for it? Are we going to die if we do that? Got to be careful, that's for sure, as Candy Panna tanked up that top turret, but not going to be much left of these wave of minions by the time it actually gets through to them, and they should be putting damage down again. Freddy will return to lane. Got himself that elixir still, plus the Doran's blade in there. Well, he's not going to have a turret when he gets back.
Yeah, it should be going down on that wave as Candy Panna sticking around as well. But Kevin in the bottom lane's been able to hold on to that turret for quite a while. It's down about a 4th health at this point. There is no sign of relief coming from his team to help him out. So if Against Authority wants to, they could push this turret down and finally have that lane swap come in, where Kevin will be able to finally go 1v1.
Yeah, final minion hit there, actually taking it down. As Slayer going low here in middle. Ocelot starting to push through. Slayer down to 1/3 of his HP. It's Dude bombing his shield there towards Kevin, but he's not too unhappy about that right now. Kevin's still double the CS up. He's still got that first kill in there. Let's have a look at the individual gold, because that's going to be an interesting one between them. 1.3 thousand to 2.2. Now, if you look at Kennen there, okay, he's just got a boost from that one, but he's behind his support in gold.
Yeah, it's not a good sign. The thing is, they have to give him a solo lane to kind of catch up. Like, you can never afford to be behind your support in terms of total gold, unless they have like 6 kills or you're paired with Edward. But you know, he has to get in the game because he is a crucial part to their entire team fight. Like, you have at Leona ultimate to come down and lock him down, and it gives Kennen that free time to get into middle of the team, to flash in, use his ultimate. Like, he's a crucial part to their whole strategy and working. And if he doesn't catch up in CS, if he doesn't get to the point where he needs to be, Against Authority's gonna have a really tough time winning these team fights.
So, AD carries here. Vamp Scepter coming out for Misfortune with that Doran's Blade and the boost of speed. On the other side, Cutlass and the Doran's Blade. So, going to be headed up towards that Blade of the Ruin King is Candy Panda.
Yep, it looks most like it will be following that up with an Infinity Edge. So, that damage Candy Panda is going to provide is just going to be ridiculous. And you have a relatively squishy team on the other side with Shlea, No, and Freddy122. All you really have is Dio to be tanky, and Virtual, who's just going to get tanky kind of as the game goes on once he gets his ages built in. But that damage is really going to be hard to go up against.
And now we're going to see AD carry versus support in this bottom lane. So we'll see if anyone's feeling cheeky enough to go in there. Obviously, Dude is, and that lane naturally with Leona is kind of a very aggressive all-in lane for them.
And he's also level 6, and there's no turret behind SK. So if he wants to, he could engage with ultimate, and they could fight this, since SK has nothing to really back up to. But instead, it looks like they just want to farm up, just trying to drag out the laning phase a little bit longer instead of going for a nice heavy engage.
Well, Kevin has now returned to lane, and he's level 7 compared to level 5 of Freddy. Double the CS, got better items, if you can really say that. At this point, as Niffy's going to get engaged upon here. Will they follow through? There's a Virus ultimate, going to lock Dude down. That switches over towards No. And Virtual was coming in from the backside as well. So nice disengage there from SK Gaming.
I'm getting such...
I call it a disengage, but they're still chasing on towards No. Yeah, this is Zenith played again. Not quite connecting. Cocoon lands on towards Dio. Virtual trying to push them back out of it. But Volibear is waiting off in the wings. There's the bullet time, which is going to rip through. But No taking a lot of damage. Forced to flash out of that one. Ooh, and the arrow coming through almost connected as well.
Joe, I'm getting such deja vu right now in the top lane with Kevin. He's just going to keep pushing that lane over and over and over again. There's not really much W10D2 can do about it since he is at a level discrepancy here, 8-5 at this point. And Kevin's going to be just doing this entire game, and it's going to force Virgil to deal with them or force Schley to come by and help him out. But we see an engage trying to happen out of Hercule, who tries to flip a ward, but that is planted pretty well in the ground.
Yeah, not really going to be able to get in for that one. Dude did, to his credit, flash away just on top of that flip, so that's why that all looked a bit strange. But in this top lane, as you said, how is Freddy supposed to deal with Kevin at 2 levels behind him?
It's not easy in any way, but luckily for him, Kevin doesn't have any damage items built just yet. I mean, he's going towards a Haunting, guys, but doesn't have it picked up just yet, because that would be a pretty easy 1v1. But, you know, you see SK, this is what they did yesterday, and they're doing it again today. I mean, it's working, so why not use it again? And then they take the top turret early on, they switch Kevin up there, they have him go in a 1v1 situation, win that situation, and then go for dragons whenever they're up.
Yeah, and that dragon was, of course, taken while we were discussing that top lane there, so nice little pickup for SK. And now we see that Candy Panda has finally gone ahead of No in the CS totals here as well. Ocelot in the lead just by 1 though, and there is Freddy. He comes up to get some CS, and Kevin says, no, you don't. Flame Spitter in his face, he has to rush off.
Just get out of here, and he's going to keep doing that entire game as, oh, just the Cocoon barely missing right there, as Nona's going to be aggressive. I'm not sure he can really deal with the damage.
Well, especially not now as we've got Hercubot coming down. There is the Solar Flare, but Duty's in the middle of the pack. He will fall from this one. Nif gonna repel up there. He was taking a lot of damage. No is very low. There is a barrier coming out of Candy Panda as he charges up that Q, trying to bait them in for it. And now Ocelot's coming around the back, gonna give himself the speed boost. Can he get in here on towards No, he will go straight underneath the turret, and they leave Virtual, but they've taken down the AD carry and support. Ocelot actually did use intervention there. He was a little bit scared of the, being withered in turret range as it was hitting him.
And they could go for a Thorm and push it, but it looks like they are going to back out instead. They need to defend that middle turret and keep it alive. As Schley, if he starts to roam right now, like when he hits 11 and gets his reset on his jump, he could really interact and really create some advantages for his team. But and again, Kevin's still in the top lane, still being aggressive, still 28 CS ahead of Freddy122 at this point. And to let you guys know, Freddy122 is going to AP at this point. But he has a Doran's Blade for just easier last hitting in lane. This is something Wings of Death in North America kind of made popular. I believe there's even some before him, but just, make it a little easier for you to last hit, and then you kind of just turn out as much AP items as you can later on.
Yeah, making that laning phase as easy as... well, it needs every break that he can catch right now, doesn't he? We mentioned early on that he was currently on less gold than his support. That, of course, now has changed since that turret went down. He's had a lot more farm, up to 47. Still not quite matching that of Kevin's Rumble, who now has that Haunting, guys.
Yeah, he's 60 gold ahead at this point right now, Joe, which is better than being down. Yes, it does.
He's ahead of the support.
Yes, he is.
By about a ward.
And then you see Freddy122. I mean, with the aggression that's been happening to his lane consistently now, he was forced into a Negatron Cloak. I mean, it's not the ideal item. Yeah, you can build an Abyssal on it, and which will work out quite well when you're against a double AP team, but that's not the item build you want to go right now, because that pretty much concedes any mid-game power he's going to have over to SK.
All right, Schley putting down a bit of pressure on towards Ocelot as well, who just turns around and returns it all. Volibear coming in from that top side. They've just getting wards. I say getting wards down and into where if he actually plays one in there, is No going to start to push in towards Candy Panda, but can he stand toe-to-toe with Candy Panda, who's got that Blade of the Ruin King already in there?
No, he can't at all. I mean, the speed boost you get from Varus, and also the heal you get from that, as you see Schley getting attacked in the mid lane with Hercube out there. Looks like they are just going to back off instead. Yeah,
Schley just popping his ultimate there, and will just get himself away. Freddy was coming up from that jungle as well. In the meantime, Kevin, surprisingly enough, he's pushed that top lane right out, and he notices, oh, look, blue buff's up. Let's try and steal that one away.
And see, the thing is, it's very reminiscent of what Darien does. He likes to push that lane consistently, be very aggressive, but Kevin's been putting wards down in that blue bush the entire time, so it makes it so if he does get ganked, they're going to have to go the longest way possible, which, I mean, in the end, yeah, you're going to die, but that means your team can put pressure somewhere else, like in the middle lane or the bottom, or even potentially that dragon. So he's been doing a phenomenal job at this, and it's just working for him so well. Against Authority, he has to have some sort of answer to this.
Oh, Nif going to get hit here, but will repel himself, straight back down on top of Schley, and will have to flash in the end to get away from that one. And, not a kill coming out, but a flash is a flash, which needs to be used later on as the equalizer goes down there from Kevin. And Freddy himself didn't want any part of that one. He flashed out as well.
And the thing is, with that flash down and the equalizer having a 100-second cooldown, he could have that up by the time that flash comes back. As the middle turret's being pressured by against Authority right now, it should go down. if Against All Authority wants to go for it, but they're being a little hesitant because they don't want to get engaged upon. If they lose a fight here, the gold lead is going to swing so heavy in favor of SK, then they'll potentially lose Dragon. That's going to be up in 1:30, and it'll set them really far if they weren't far enough ahead, behind at this point. Looks like SK may even try to go for some pressure on the mid lane themselves.
I think they know that they need that mid wave a bit further pushed out, you know, so that they've got the positional advantage when it comes to dropping back off, going down the river for that Dragon, which, as you said, is coming up just about a minute time. There is the blue buff given over on towards Ocelot. Freddy chomping through pots. I'd love to know how many he's bought this game, because it must be a lot of pots to stay healthy in that top lane.
I don't even want to know the number because I feel too sad for him. But, you know, Schley with that... Actually, he doesn't have blue buff himself, but with also that blue buff, he's been aggressive. Nono getting caught in the bottom lane.
Yeah, Nono's in a lot of trouble from this one. Nif gonna pick up the kill. He's gonna try and get away from this one. Of course, Repel on cooldown. Candy Panda not super healthy either, as a slow will land here on towards Diode. Will they be able to follow through? Nif still very, very low, withered, but not finished off.
See, this is opportunities where Ocelot kind of capitalized on. Knowing that the bottom lane was low, he came down to the bottom, picked up a kill over to Nono. But Schley, unfortunately for him, he wasn't able to do that because if he picked up the kill on Nif, which was already so low, he had to jump back up again for Candy Panda. Would have been a double kill and a nice chunk of gold for him. But it's just unfortunately, he wasn't really in position. He had to defend that middle lane.
And look at the CS difference now between Freddy and Kevin. It's only getting bigger at this point. 109 to 67. That is a huge lead. Let's have a look down the gold. 3.4 thousand. And that is actually more than both support, so he's all right on that front. Ocelot just getting jumped on there by Schlayer. That middle lane, only a 300 lead for Ocelot at this point. Got that Nash's Tooth finished now. And also the Merc treads in there as well. Brutalizer, the Cutlass, and the Tia for Kha'Zix.
And of course, you see SK grouping up for this Dragon right now. That should be a free Dragon for them, but we do have Against Authority trying to stop it somewhat. As the AD carries are duking out in the bottom lane, we have Virtual in the vicinity, but I think it'll just be a little bit too late to stop this.
Yeah, I think so too. Dragon is down to less than half HP right now. SK are with 3 men there, and you can see that they're very cautious about this one, especially when this fortune down that bottom side. Dragon will reset itself here over and over, and they decide to back away, but it's not reset fully. And that's the key point about this one, as SK take it very, very low. The smite comes out from Hercubot. They get the kill. Are they going to go in for the fight? Virtual already going low. They flip Diode around. Is he going to go down before he can get everything off? Yes, he is. Ocelot gets that kill. Virtual now trapped right in the middle of the team. Hercubot noms down on him for that one, and now Schlayer trying his best to run away. Good void spikes will slow SK down, and that will be a 2-for-0 with a Dragon, and it wouldn't surprise me to see that turret go as well.
Yeah, fantastic job at SK. I mean, that was a perfect smite out of Hercubot, and then realized Against Authority was out of position. They took advantage of that, picked up those 2 kills, and I think it was like the Dragon, 2 kills, turret. That just gives you so much gold. They have a 6,000 lead almost at this point, and we're only 19 minutes in.
Yeah, looking very solid from SK. We said that in the pre-game that now, although Against Authority definitely an informed team right now, SK have looked good even in the games that they've lost recently, and they're showing that here today. They've got that plan and they're sticking to it. Currently 6-1 up in kills, that 5.7 thousand gold lead, 2-1 in turrets. Kevin just dominating that top lane. There's no real other word to use, I think, for that performance right now coming out of Kevin. He's got the blasting one and a Giant's belt now after that last trip home. And if it wasn't already annoying enough for Freddy in the top lane, it just got even worse.
Yes, it did. And that's the same build he's been going for the past couple of games. I mean, that Riley's Crystal Scepter, it keeps you in that ultimate even longer and just devastates you as anyone. And then we do see Hercubot, he picked up Boots of Swiftness, so it gives you effectiveness on slow. It reduces, well, the duration on the slows, if I'm not mistaken. And with the Wither out of Virtual, with the slow out of Schlayer from his passive and the Void Spikes, it's going to help quite a bit. Obviously, it doesn't get you out of the stuns, but you're not too worried about that when you're the major initiate for the team. You have that flash to get in there, and you can create opportunities for your team to have a very nice fight.
Exactly. Wants to be getting in there as fast as he can. Kevin again returns to that top lane to push through. Ocelot and Freddy, they've spent a lot of time here alone in this middle lane. 166 to 177 CS, so nicely done up until now by Schlayer, but Ocelot with 2-0-1 has that advantage.
And the thing is, even with the 11 CS advantage that Schlayer has, Ocelot's been able to turn his CS into actual kills. Like, he's been able to use it to affect the rest of the game. You do see Virtual catching Kevin here, but as I say that, will he be able to get away?
Well, Schlayer's here as well. The Equalizer is going to go down, but it's not eating through enough damage right now as Hercubot is going to wait. There's the flash over. Will will they follow? Void Spike's gone through. Slayer is going to pick up the kill. Of course, that gives him the reset as he jumps over towards Hercubot, but won't go for any more than that. Nice reaction to something that Kevin's been doing that entire time. You already pointed it out. He pushes the wave, then puts that ward down in the curved bush there to see if anyone's coming through, to see if the blue spawn is going to be spawning. So we are going to see Nif and Hercubot going in there. That was a mistake, in my opinion, to be that far into the jungle when they knew that Against All Authority were there.
And that's the power of Kennan's ultimate. Like, you saw Nif, he could not move. We see the engage actually out of SK.
Yeah, they turn it around. Freddy getting shredded down here very early on as Ocelot is going to be putting down a lot of damage. Where's the finisher? Freddy actually gets away. The Void Spike's not going to affect Hercubot too much. Deudy's already down as well. And SK looking now to finish off this fight. Ocelot going to slice down Nasus. Slayer does back away. Freddy somehow escaped there right at the end as well. But Slayer came back in and he may pay the price. He will. Not sure why he did that.
Not sure either, as we do have, in the end, a 3-for-2 trade for SK, getting those extra kills in at the end, even though Kevin did die for overextending a little bit. But, Joe, look at the Baron side of the river right now. Look how many wards we have down for SK currently. I'm trying to count them up, but it's at least 6 at this point, and that's just so much money to invest into vision early on. But you just saw it there, like, the advantage it gave them in those fights. They could always see where everyone on Against Authority was, and they're able to pick up the kills.
Yeah, and a 3-for-2, like you said, for SK, could have been even better if they'd have gone as the entire team right away when Nif and Hercubot first went in there and Nif ended up dying. There's Ocelot with double buffs on, not something that you want to really relinquish, so he's not going to stand toe-to-toe and fight with Freddy, who does now have that blasting one plus the sorcerer's shoes added in there. Kevin's actually just pushed out that bottom lane as well. He's been kind of off-screen with this one the whole time, pushing either the top or that bottom lane, but certainly doing a good job of that, and he's now finally completed that Riley's Crystal Scepter.
He's Rumble, he's healthy by split pushing the entire time because no one can 1v1 him right now, but with that Crystal Scepter done, it leads me to believe that they're like, hey, we can probably start team fighting right now. We have a lot of major items completed. We have an advantage right now. They have an 8,000 gold lead almost. And with the Scepter, like, they can pretty much cut off any retreat Against Authority is going to do, or on the opposite side of that, they could stop any aggression that Against Authority is going to try to pull off. So, Rumble Ultimate's going to be really key to decide if they want to go in or if they want to just back away.
So, when we get to, these bigger team fights, where's the focus got to come from Against Authority? I mean, you got Hercubot, who's going to be, or probably already is, pretty damn tanky. You've got Nif, who can repel himself out of there if needs be. You've got Candypad, who's naturally going to be standing at the back anyway. Rumble, who's doing a lot of damage. Then you throw the intervention on top of, each one of those, depending on who they focus.
Well, the thing is, they don't want to fight right now, but when we get into that point, like you're asking, like, there is no one really, there's no target, key target they want to go for. I mean, ideally, they want Candy Panda, but with an intervention to save him, with him in the backline of the team, with the ultimate out of Rumble coming down, like, you're going to have a hard time getting to him. So, to me, the only person they're really going to be able to kill is potentially that Hercubot who gets in your face since you have the entire enemy team to attack him. He's obviously going to be really far ahead of his team when he tries to get that initiate, so SK, if they're a little bit slow to react to that and a little bit slow to back him up, they could lose Hercubot in a snap of the fingers. And it just comes down to how well SK can communicate that and go in for the fights.
Well, we just saw there Freddy starting to push out on this bottom lane, thinking that Kevin's gone back. He was just camping inside of the brush and came straight back out to make his life hell. Dragon gonna spawn here. Hercubot already right on top of it. SK got their timings down to perfection for this one. Things are gonna get started off, and to be honest with the damage, I'm not sure that Against Authority will get close before it dies.
They could go for an engage here. They have the ultimate out of Rumble up if they want to go for it. Against Authority are sitting in the mid lane. We see this happen many times when the other team engages from the side on you with that ultimate out of Rumble. It really catches off guard, and we might see the engage happen right here, Joe.
Well, Hercubot is charging up there towards Slayer and Virtual, but there's more of a presence thing there. We talked about it in the past that flying bears are really scary.
They are a bad thing. It's like
just generally you got to be scared of the bear coming at you.
Like Cloudy with a chance of meatballs, but it's like Cloudy with a chance of flying bears at your face. A little bit scary.
Yeah, very scary indeed. So, more wards coming down from SK Gaming on the top side of the jungle. No, he's pushing out that top lane, but he needs to be careful. that he doesn't lose an inner mid turret for the pleasure, as they are going to get in there. Freddy locked up on top of the equalizer. His ultimate meaning absolutely nothing there, and that will be an instant kill onto Freddy and an inner turret. As I was talking about, no misfortune there. Not the fight that Against All Authority would have been like to have been pulled in for. Freddy actually did go straight in. I think he actually got flipped in the end by Hercubot as he came, as the Varus ulti ended and he wanted to get away from the equalizer. Hercubot flung him straight back into the team, which, generally you wouldn't do against a Kennen because having him in the middle of the team is his perfect position. But when he's not got all that much damage and he's very squishy, it's actually the perfect place for him.
That's the thing. It's a problem that's developed as the game's gone on. From the early pressure that they applied in the top lane, as you see, Nona being aggressive. But with that early aggression we saw on the top lane with Freddy getting denied, he was forced to go as Abyssal Scepter because he's against a double AP comp. So yeah, it's a standard item, but you have to get a Zhonya's. Like, they can burst you down so quickly. If he's going to get in the middle of the team, he has to have that backup. And he didn't have it there. So you saw the price that was paid for. He just got blown up quickly. SK wasn't even worried about him because he doesn't have the damage at this point, and they won the fight and a tower off of that.
So let's have a look at some of the items coming out here. And specifically, we're going to focus on this middle lane. Kha'Zix with that Cutlass in there, with the Brutalizer, with the Tear. Seems like I said that he had those 3 items about 10, maybe 15 minutes ago. On the other side, though, Ocelot, Nash's Tooth, Needlessly Large Rod, Sheen, Blasting Wand in there as well.
Okay, so for Schley, he's sitting on 1,500 gold right now, so he can pick up an item relatively soon. The thing is, like, most Kha'Zix will want to build a Bloodthirster as their first item. Oh, we do see Candy Panda catching Slay in the bot lane.
Yeah, it steals all that movement speed away from him with the Blade of the Ruin King and snipes him down at the end. Brilliant play out of Candy Panda. And that's one of the strengths of the Blade of the Ruin King. You think you're running away when actually you're not.
You're running to your death in the end. And, we talked about, or I was trying to talk about the Bloodthirster as an item he needs to pick up. He actually has a BF sword right now. But the thing is, like, Kha'Zix works really well because you can poke really well, and the thing is, you have a tier for the mana for the sustain of that, but you get a Bloodthirster on top of that because all the attack damage you build from that item just decimates the enemy team. But he went for a Brutalizer straight into that build on a Cutlass, so it kind of threw off his build a little bit, but he needed it to actually survive in the lane phase against Ocelot. I mean, Ocelot will slow you down and speed himself up at the same time, so you need some sort of slow to keep him away from you. And over on Ocelot's side, I mean, you have the Nash's Tooth done, so that item's completed, but you have 2 different items you can go for right now. You can get a Death Cap if you want for some more burst, or you can go for a Lich Bane, which gives you a lot of burst as well, and also a lot of pushing power. So it's up to him where he wants to go, and he set himself up nicely to adapt his build to what they need.
Well, they already stole the enemy blue buff away, which feels like the 3rd or 4th in a row maybe now that SK have stolen away from Against All Authority. Also actually getting his own there, so showing the importance of having that blue buff on the Kayle. Really wants to keep that on him. And SK pushing down this middle lane. Of course, they are down to the inhibitor turret there. Kevin has pushed this top lane out now as well. Again, Kennen can't really 1 versus 1 against him. Riley's Crystal Scepter, that Haunting guy, Soak Shoe, so good penetration, plus a Needlessly Large Rod added into that as well. Like, he's got everything right now. He's got good penetration, he's got good amount of AP, he's got, he's tanky, he's got that slow built in from his Harpoon, but also from the Crystal Scepter as well. Like, he's at a really dangerous stage.
He's, definitely critical mass at this point. And Kennen, like, he can't 1v1 him, you're completely right in that, but who do you send to 1v1 him? Like, you can send, no, but he has actually, it's a sustain, doesn't have a lot of attack speed, so you won't be able to eat through Kevin's damage. He cannot run away that easily from the ultimate with the Rally Slow. And then if you send Shlea, I mean, he might be able to 1v1 him, but in the end, if you take him away from the mid lane, that's a free push for SK and a free turret. And as you're seeing right now, they're going for Baron. They're not spotted because of the great control that SK has with the wards and that Oracle on Nif, and that should be a free Baron for them.
That will be a free Baron for them. Against All Authority, not able to get anywhere near it. As you said, they relinquished control of that jungle a long time ago. They did put a pink ward in around the blue buff just to try and weed those wards out. But SK now with Baron on, they've got an Oracle of their own. They're going to start to push out. And Against All Authority, actually trapped off to the side. There's Freddy getting cocooned. Varus ultimate comes down. He tries to get in there, but he's dead before he can really have the impact. Virtual goes down as well. That's a 2 for nothing right now. Hercubot getting low. He's been tracked down by Slayer, who will get sandwiched in between 3 of them. Here comes Rumble for the side with the damage. Nif actually picks up the kill in the end. That leaves just No-No, who's been tracked down here by Ocelot. There's the slow coming in. Ocelot going very low there underneath the turret, but it's the equalizer and the finisher from Candy Panda that gets him in the end. Nice clutch heal from Ocelot there, saving Candy Panda, but that is an ace. And 15 seconds before Nasus comes up, they could finish now.
Yes, because they are going to just push for it. They have the heal out of Kayle. They have the sustain off of Baron, and they are going to, in fact, close this game out. And not only close the game out, but they're going to clinch their 3rd position in the standings.
Yeah, really strong performance here from SK. Gonna finish 16-3 in kills, maybe, unless they go for more here at the end. No, they're gonna finish this one off. SK